US President Joe Biden has told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that it was critical to protect civilians in Gaza and much more must be allowed in, the White House has said. Biden, who was speaking on telephone to Netanyahu, called for the creation of humanitarian corridors to separate the civilian population from Hamas. The US has strongly defended Israel's right to defend itself after the October 7th attacks by Hamas, in which Israel said 1,200 people were killed, while 138 people remain as hostages. Meanwhile, the Gaza Health Ministry said that at least 17,000 people were killed since the 7th of October. US President Joe Biden holding these talks on the phone with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He has said that it's critical to protect civilians in Gaza. He's also urged Netanyahu to allow much more aid. And Biden has also called for the creation of humanitarian corridors to separate the civilian population from Hamas. Remember, these are important statements by the US because the US, of course, has strongly backed Israel. The US has strongly defended Israel's right to defend itself after the October 7th attacks, but of course has interestingly now called for aid for Gaza. Suresh Goel, former diplomat, is with us live. Suresh Goel, important statements coming in by the US president. How do you react to them?
Are you talking about the civilians? Because I missed the first part of
yes,
yes.
To the protection of civilians and the allowing of aid.
Yes. Uday, the point really here is that if you look at the whole scenario of the Gaza war, I certainly would agree that Israel must have the right to defend itself against any kind of attack, and because even the two-state solution talks about guaranteed borders and the security of people living within those borders, and therefore any kind of attack on Israel must be responded to, and Israel must protect itself against any kind of attack, and therefore if it's going to attack Hamas, it's a perfectly legitimate target. The point really here is that Israel has begun to conflate Hamas completely with the Palestinians in terms of actions, if not in terms of overstatements. And therefore, all the civilians, according to one UN estimate, out of 2.2 Palestinians living in Gaza Strip, 1.9 million have been displaced. They have been made homeless, and they do not know where to go. And civilian population of Gaza is under severe stress, and in fact could be called extermination really, because there was a statement that they should actually now move towards the sea, and where would they go from sea? So I think when President Biden says about the protection of civilians, that's the right thing to say. My only thing is that whether USA is forceful enough to ensure that Israel does it, because there is no change in behavior or supplies or support to Israel on the ground or Israeli military action in Gaza on the ground. Therefore, let us see what happens, whether this call remains only a call or it is translated into any kind of action.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.